We were made for relationships. Wherever you go, you will have to relate with people. At the workplace, at home, in your family, you can't avoid people. God made us to interact with people. God made us for relationships. But the caveat is this, that where human relationships are, conflict is inevitable. How can we deal with conflict in a healthy way when relating with people? My name is Ernest Wamboye, and you are watching CITAM, Church Online. Conflict is inevitable in any relationships, and I'm going to give you 5 healthy rules on how to handle conflict and how to relate with one another so that your relationships are as healthy as possible. Now, this is important because Jesus himself said that when you're going to offer your sacrifice at the altar and you remember that your brother has sinned against you, what did he say? Leave your sacrifice at the altar, go back to your brother, make amends with him, then come back and offer your sacrifice. Now you must understand that that's a profound thing that Jesus was saying. The place where sacrifices were offered was the temple in Jerusalem. And so people came from all parts of Israel, Judea, Samaria, coming from different parts of Israel, coming all the way to Jerusalem just to offer their sacrifice. Now imagine you've come all this way and there were no vehicles, there were no taxis, there were no trains, no planes. You've walked for days, you've come for so many from such a long distance, and it's taking you days to get there. And you are having your sacrifice to offer at the altar, but just before you offer it, you remember that you and Ernest had a disagreement and you've not sorted things out. Jesus said, leave your sacrifice at the altar and then go back and make amends with him. Now imagine if you've come 5 days away, so you leave that, walk back 5 days, sort things with Ernest and come back. Now that is tiresome, that is disturbing, but what's the point? Jesus is telling us that relationships are more important than anything else, and we must do everything in our power to make relationships work. Even Paul the Apostle said in the book of Romans 12, as much as possible, live at peace with people. How do we do that? I'm going to give you 5 rules. Number 1, avoid absolutes. Whenever you're interacting with people and you realize that they offend you or they've constantly hurt you, you must avoid absolutes. Absolutes are words like never, always. You say, you are never there for me. You always do this. Now, absolutes put someone in a judgmental position because they feel judged. They feel like you've labeled them. Always and never show that this person can never change. This person is always like this. And if that person made an honest mistake, they'll feel judged, they'll feel rejected, and they are more likely to close up and not open up to you. What are the absolutes that you use? Try and notice them and reduce them as much as possible. Try and isolate every instance as opposed to lumping them together. The Bible says love does not keep a record of wrongs. Many a times we use absolutes because we keep a record of wrongs. The next one is ask for feedback. Now, this is a very difficult thing to do. When you're interacting with people and you've offended them and you apologize and you get things over, many times it's good to ask for feedback. Just ask them, what exactly did I do that hurt you? What exactly did I do that made you react like that? And that's a painful thing to ask because more likely you're not going to hear things that you like. But it's important to ask for feedback from the people you relate with so that they can show you what your weaknesses are and you can have the humility to say, hey, I need to work on that. Many a times it's easy for people to see the flaws that we have than for us to see them on ourselves. Ask for feedback. The next one is focus on the behavior of the person. When someone wrongs you, you must focus on the behavior. You must focus on what they did. Don't make this person in his or her entirety the problem. And so if someone was late for a meeting and we agreed to meet at a certain point and they were late over and over and over, I must focus on the behavior of coming late. I must focus on the behavior of not keeping time as opposed to focusing on the entire person and saying, you have a problem, there's something wrong with you, there's something wrong with you as a person. I need to focus on the behavior and say, you are okay as a person, but there's this one behavior that you have that is not pleasing. When you focus on behavior, people feel like they have the will to change, they have room to grow. But if you don't focus on behavior and you focus on them as an entirety, they feel that they are a failure and they are not likely going to respond to you. And the next one, positive feedback in public and negative feedback in private. Now, this is something that my wife and I always practice. When I have something negative to say to her, I pull her aside and I tell her in private so that she can work on it, she can consider it, she can think about it. And she does the same for me. When she realizes it's something I need to work on, she pulls me aside and says it to me in private. Now, when she's done something good, I say it in public. When her friends are there, I commend her. And when I do the same, she says that to me, and we realize that it has helped us have a mature relationship with one another. And when you give public compliments and you give private criticisms, you'll realize that you build this person. Now, there are times when you'll have to criticize in public. I know that this is not a rule of thumb, but as much as possible, celebrate people publicly. And when you need to give them criticism, when you need to give them feedback that may be negative, pull them aside, let them think about it. And then look at the scriptures, and that's exactly what Priscilla and Aquila did to Apollos when he was preaching the gospel. They realized that he did not have the full message. What did they do? They didn't criticize him on his platform. They pulled him aside, and the Bible says that they taught him the better way in private. Many a times we like to criticize in public and praise in private. It would be better for you to do it the other way around. And finally, balance the negatives with the positives. It's very easy to speak about all the negative things about the people who hurt you, but you may want to consider all the positive things about them. One exercise that we encourage among couples is to do this. When you are having a tough time with several unresolved conflicts, sit down, write one negative thing about this person, your spouse that is, or anyone else, and then for every one negative, we challenge them, write 3 positive things about this person. And many times when you do that exercise, you realize that you've taken someone for granted for such a long time. You realize that there are people in your lives with such high impact, there are people in your lives with such good influence, but you just take them for granted mainly because you zero in on the negative behavior. Try and find 5 positive attributes for every negative attribute that you point out. If 5 is too many, try work with the 3. For every negative attribute, point out 3 positive attributes. I believe if you follow those, you will have healthy relationships and your conflicts will be dealt with in a godly way. Thank you very much for watching. If you'd like to connect with us, please do so on the social media links at the bottom of your screen. Please follow us, ask us questions, and we'd be more than glad to respond. My name is Ernest Wamboye, and you are watching CITAM Church Online.